Online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Infinity Sports Network.
I'm a little weird with my pizza. I don't like sauce.
Wait, what?
We've hired a toddler.
Scotty Scheffler, the new face of golf.
Man, CBS was amazing to Vern, but they did Billy Joel so dirty last night.
Off-season conditioning program underway today.
Tom Brady, he recently said that he believes Josh Allen will be the next quarterback to win his first Super Bowl.
Let's go!
It is Marathon Monday in Boston.
Mike Danger.
Hear me out. Pre-show dad run. What do you think? I just think it's a good way to set a tone every afternoon.
Gene Battaglia.
Is there any food like you won't touch?
Hate beans. Not a bean guy. Can't stand beans.
Coconut. I just cannot down coconut in any way.
Emirates hockey.
Clinch a spot in the Calder Cup playoffs.
Playoffs? Go Sabres. Season finale tonight in Tampa.
We have the end of the NBA regular season. The play-in matchups.
The WNBA draft is tonight. I'm excited because of Caitlin Clark officially becoming an Indiana Fever.
Nice.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome on in to the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app. Maybe you're watching the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there, or watching the stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Yeah, you think back 1 week ago today, it would have been nice to have this kind of sun peeking through. But
don't remind me.
Yeah, no, it was different though. Like abandoning the studio there and just walking up to the roof.
Yeah, a fun experience, yes, but don't remind me that, yes, you could have had clear skies. You could have seen the actual eclipse a week ago today, but we move forward, and we've got a great afternoon of sports talk lined up for you here in the Flower City. Hope you all had a great weekend. We will, as we inch closer and closer to the NFL draft, talk more about some of the prospects aligned with the Buffalo Bills when Russell Brown, the NFL draft analyst for Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, stops by the Sports Bar later this afternoon, right around 4:25.
Yeah, and I'd also be curious to get his thoughts, too, about the quarterbacks in this draft. And it feels like this is a common theme. Like, my gosh, this will be the year we have quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, maybe even 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't happen anymore. But we'll ask him about the odds for this, because right now it'd be fun to kind of play this if you were outside of New York State, maybe listening on the Odyssey app today. If you're going to bet this, quarterbacks 4.5, the over-under in this draft in the first round. It feels like the over would be the play, but they put that there for a reason. So we'll talk to Russell Brown. I want to get his thoughts on the quarterbacks and which ones he thinks are.
What did Mo say? Did Mo say he's taking the over on that?
Over on that.
He's going over 4.5 quarterbacks in the first round.
You're saying Penix sneaks into the end of the first round. See, this is the reason I would think if you're a team just going into the first round, if you like that quarterback, make sure you get him at the tail end of round 1 so you get that fifth-year option. And it would be like, if you really want to do some advanced planning, that's the way to do it, rather than get a quarterback and, oh, wow, we tripped into him, and then you have to make that decision 1 year earlier.
Or just whatever position you want to control cost for the next 5 years, that's the one that you target. But, yeah, quarterback is that advantage that teams look for, and certainly a team like Houston looks to continue to exploit that advantage here over the course of the next few seasons. So we'll talk to Russell Brown, who does NFL draft analyst work for Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Our buddy stops by and joins us from Detroit right around 4:25. Later this hour, we'll get Jenna Cottrell from 13 Wham Sports and BuffaloPlus.com on with us.
Yeah, so we'll talk about those receivers. Does she have a favorite amongst this bunch? What about the possibility that maybe the Bills don't go wide receiver here in round 1? And we'll talk to Jenna from Buffalo Plus 13 Wham coming up in a little bit. Saw a great tweet today. It was Greg Vorse, his name, just kind of reporting that Stephon Diggs was not at Bills OTAs today.
I think Warrow said the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
maybe this is...
And I might have retweeted. Yeah. I mean, that's big news if it's true. Do we have sources on that? Are there people, boots on the ground, that actually can confirm that?
I think Sean McDermott was very concerned. Yeah. How concerned are you? Very concerned.
Very concerned when a player is... Did they realize what they've done? Jenna joins us here at 3:25. You can join us anytime this afternoon. 585-866-4FAN is our phone number. 866-4326. You can also reach out to us on Elon's Twitter. That's X. at the Fan Rochester. Oh, we welcome back one of our regulars. In fact, our number one regular back to South Central Kentucky, as Chris mentions that he's back from his trip overseas, keeping up as best as he could while overseas, ready to listen and back in the sports bar. Appreciate you, Chris.
No big deal, Chris. Like, while you're gone, Diggs gets traded, and we have this eclipse thing that happens once in a lifetime, and whatever. This all happened while you were gone, buddy. But
not likely that Chris will be in Rochester for the start of the NFL draft. But if you are, and you want to hang out with us from 3 until 6 as we talk NFL draft a week from Thursday, it's almost here. We'll be at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts for day 1 of the NFL draft. Then day 2 of the NFL draft, the show goes on the road live Friday afternoon from 3 until 6. We'll be at the Tap Room at Bill Gray's in Chilai on Friday.
Yeah, and this is just one of the funnest times of year, right? Because you don't have to be a Bills fan. You can be whatever your team is. We're all invested in the draft one way or another. So it is fun, and I always love watching these smart people just have to make decisions under pressure there, and sometimes it results in some bad things for your team. So we'll talk about the draft again. Three Heads Brewing coming up on Thursday of next week, and then Bill Gray's Tap Room in Chilai on the Friday.
It's funny because we can sit here and talk about what teams might be thinking in advance of the draft. Everything can get turned upside down, and you have to, as you mentioned, make these decisions, these snap decisions in a high-pressure situation. And I really believe that you can't rule anything out. The things that you want to rule out, you can't rule out. You see plenty of mock drafts that have the Bills not taking a wide receiver at the end of the first round at pick 28, assuming that they stay at pick 28. One thing that I can say, though, is seeing Von Miller post on social media that he expects Brandon Beane to go up and draft a wide receiver in round 1 is as close to any sort of affirmation that I need that the Bills will not be selecting a wide receiver by trading up in the first round.
So Von is wrong on everything, right? Like whether they're signing OBJ,
always
wrong.
He's always wrong.
This is not a source. I was just kind of amused when Pro Football, oh my gosh, look at this post from Von Miller. He must know something. He doesn't know anything.
Unless they're telling him to put this out as a smokescreen because maybe the Bills do have a desire other than wide receiver in the first round. And with that in mind, today, edge rusher Laiatu Latu, UCLA, is taking a top 30 visit with the Bills today. He'll then go on to Philadelphia and visit with the Eagles tomorrow. This is a guy that's angling for the first round. He's visited with the Cardinals, the Vikings, the Broncos. We'll talk to Russell Brown a little bit about him later. But when you look at who the Bills have on the edge, you really think you're going to be okay with that? You're going to have to add at some point.
That's why we've been saying all along, defense, just brace for it. And you can let one of these guys fall to you at 28, and you don't have to give up a second-round pick next year or this year for that matter.
Dude, edge rushers. I mean, they signed free agent Casey Toole, right? It's Rousseau, it's Epineza, it's Von Miller. That's it. That's what you have.
Yeah. You got Leonard Floyd late last year. That's not a plan this year. You really don't have any cap room if you want to go get a veteran. It has to be the draft. I can do you one better. I mean, I just all these mocks you see with Chop Robinson going to Buffalo. Like, oh my gosh, not only are they not taking a wide receiver, we're taking a Penn State guy because of Mr. Pagula.
Yeah. Is he there at 28? Probably not, right?
Well, you could also move up. Like here's my one wish, Danger, because my one wish is not draft a wide. They will draft a wide receiver. It doesn't have to be in the first round. I'm sure they can get somebody quality in rounds 2 or 3.
Sure.
But have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. Like a good team should do this, and Brandon Beane, I'm sure, does. But I would point to 2 years ago. What was plan B? Because I think we could kind of deduce that, hey, corner Trent McDuffie. Oh, snap, he's gone. And, well, let's just get the next guy on the board here.
Yeah, Kaiir Elam was the I guess you'll do guy. Now, Kaiir Elam could show up this year and surprise a lot of us. And I've seen mock drafts that have the Bills selecting a corner, that there is a need there behind Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford. It's Elam and nobody. And you don't know what you have in Elam because we haven't seen it, right? But maybe the Bills are banking that with Elam and new coaching back there, that Elam you can get more out of the first round pick, and he won't be we won't be as quick to judge him a bust as we were last year. It remains to be seen. Certainly Benford has dealt with injuries in his young career, so you might see more of Kyer Elam, and eventually I think the Bills do draft a corner as well, but I don't know if they do it in the first round.
As they should. But the Bills don't have this deep roster, meaning, take the best player available. No, if the best player available is an offensive lineman or a corner and somebody wants that, then you get the heck out of there. I don't think the Bills would move down, but the idea that they would take the best player, no, they take the biggest need with the best player available, and their needs are obvious.
There's the other reason why I think they could go edge rusher in round 1 rather than wide receiver in round 1 is that they invested in essentially a wide receiver in round 1 last year. They're going to invest in the offense 2 years in a row. Sean McDermott?
Nah, it's not. No. I'm not buying that. Dalton Kincaid is a tight end. This is your modern tight end here, but you need more pass catchers. So, I would say, hey, credit the Bills for not waiting on Kincaid last year. They identified him.
Do you need more first-round pass catchers? I agree. You need more pass catchers. You need more first-round pass catchers.
Good teams don't necessarily have to go that route. Like, if for all the whining that Aaron Rodgers did in Green Bay, hey, they got it done.
Yeah.
I look at Kansas City. Now, people say the Chiefs are going to be, including myself, hey, they need a wide receiver too. They may not go wide receiver. They haven't in the past. They lost Tyreek Hill. Didn't draft a wide receiver. So, sure, you could wait in the second round, but some of these names that we've become accustomed to, like a Ladd McConkey, I don't think he's falling to 60 for Buffalo in the second round.
It'll be interesting to continue to have the conversation about what the Bills do here with the NFL draft here over the course of the next couple of weeks. And Russell Brown will be joining us next hour to talk more about it, NFL draft analyst at Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Speaking of wide receivers on their rookie deal, the Eagles exercised the fifth-year option on Devontae Smith for the 2025 season, and they extended him for 3 years beyond that. So Smith will remain with the Eagles through 2028. It's an extension worth $75 million. 51 of it is guaranteed. Devontae Smith not going anywhere.
No, that's good for the Eagles there, I guess.
And I guess we can talk about this later this afternoon, but we do have a couple of hot uniform talk tidbits to get to at some point this afternoon here.
Yeah, is it hot? Well, I know the one. Must be missing the other here.
There's a couple.
Okay.
We can get into that.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit.
The Masters wrapped up yesterday, Gino. Scotty Scheffler kind of ran away with it in the end. It was, in my opinion, less than exciting. I mean,
so what is this? Because if you just had to say with this whole, hey, we're for the PGA, we're not necessarily for LIV because that's bad. And here's somebody that is dominating the PGA, and then you put him against the best in the LIV, and he dominates, and that's 2 of 3 in the Masters. He was the first favorite to win since Tiger. We want greatness on the course, and here he is, and there's a bright future ahead, and I don't get the sense that people are kind of into Scotty Scheffler.
So I got a text from Cuse, my neighbor, who sent me this bright and early this morning.
Cuse has opinions, I've come to learn.
He does, but he, in a lot of ways, his opinions are wrong. Interesting take on Scotty Scheffler. A man of faith, humble, not flashy, and what a fantastic golfer. Joins an elite group of golfers winning the Masters again. After yesterday, I can now remember his face and story and root for his continued success. Great for the game of golf.
I don't know. Do we?
You're wrong. He's wrong. It's not great for the game. It's boring. He's boring. He is great. He's a great golfer. Does everything right. Says everything right. Does everything that you would want, the face of your organization to do. And it's boring. It's boring. I'm sorry. Like, yes, he's the best golfer in the world. Yes, he's the best PGA golfer. He waxed those LIV golfers. And I'm sorry, it is boring. I want charisma. I want flash. We love Tiger because he did it with flash. He did it with swagger. He did it with attitude. Scheffler says and does all the right things, and there's nothing wrong with it, and I don't dislike the golfer, and he's obviously very, very good. He's at the top of his game, and it is dull. It's dull.
It was, if he came on and say he birdies 17 or does some unbelievable shot and takes it, but it wasn't quite wire to wire, but like it was just one guy falling off against another. Like we had this with Tiger throughout the years, Danger. Like what killed me was like watching yesterday, and if you're tuning in late, this is what they do during the Masters here. If I could have a little music here, my
yes,
Danger.
of course.
Yeah. This is the music that they'll play. Yes, I call this the celebration of wealth.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. Jim Nance. If you're just joining us, here's how we got here. Here's Colin Morikawa hitting it into the water. Oh, and then here's another guy hitting it into the bush, Max Homa. Yeah. And then here's Ludwig Harberg, or whatever his name is, hitting it into the water. No, this doesn't match up with this music. I want greatness with this music. I don't want...
I'm with you. I just think that the game is more interesting when you've got a little beef. Like when Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka clearly don't like each other, right? When those two were like at the top of the game, and you got the meme of Brooks rolling his eyes because DeChambeau's clowning in the background. If you had a rivalry between LIV and PGA where the golfers, you could just tell they clearly didn't like each other.
Look, Roy was setting that up last year.
You don't have that anymore.
No.
I mean, now you got the LIV golfers wearing their team logos out on the course, and nobody really says or does anything or cares about it. Is anybody questioning that? Is anybody gonna push that forward? What are we doing? And the LIV golfers, for what it's worth, I think not showing up also is a testament to just how often the PGA Tour golfers are getting out there and getting after it. They're just better at their game right now than the LIV golfers are. To see Dustin Johnson, who just won this thing a couple of years ago, completely fall apart. Like he just isn't golfing as much with LIV as he was with PGA. I just wanted a little bit more. I think we just want a little bit more electricity. I mean, he's a spectacular golfer. He's a great guy. If he shaved his beard and walked down the street, you wouldn't recognize him. He's just very, to me, you're going to hate when I say this, he's very vanilla.
No, that is the wrong word. Just plain, unassuming. Those are the correct words. Vanilla can be delicious. We've been over this.
It's just plain. You're right. It's plain. Vanilla is plain, and that's what he is. He's just plain. I want a little bit more attitude. I want a little bit more swagger. And he's just so nice. He's just so nice. He's the guy that said, if my wife, I don't care where I am on the leaderboard, if my wife goes into labor, I'm leaving. I mean, that's the right answer. But it's not necessarily what we want to hear.
So how could it? How was not homeless people, Morikawa's people, not planting the fake call into his cell phone like wife in labor? You know,
yeah, right,
or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Getting that to the caddy. I think part of it too is, boy, I don't want to dump on the Masters, but
dump on it because the whole thing is so steeped in tradition, and a lot of that tradition is like dated. It just doesn't hold up.
Well, it's not a CBS production,
right?
It's you have the head honcho stuffed shirt asking the questions in Butland Cabert and
chairman.
And it's so important we talk about the amateurs. Here's this schlub.
Yeah.
And let's trot him out here. I don't care about the amateurs. These kids don't know what to say when they're on national television.
Poor kid was just sweating bullets up there. He had his eyes wandering. He didn't know what to look at, what to say. And even Nance at the end of it was like patting him on the head like, good boy, you aced it. Yeah, you said all the right things. Like, oh my God, are these guys being held at gunpoint during the presentation? What's going on in Butler Cabin?
And is there... Some people love this. I think it's so incredibly cheesy, the I'm going to put the jacket on you ceremony. When these guys, half of them are MFing one another underneath their breath when they have to do it.
It's just awkward and weird and dated. And God, it needs an update. It needs a refresher. And I know that part of why we all love the Masters is its deep tradition. There's a lot of deep traditions around Augusta, Georgia that they probably don't want to celebrate.
Dude, go to any country club. Go to any private club, and they have their weird rules. Let's just start with the dress and everything else. So this is like the little peek behind the curtain here.
Yeah.
Where, like, every member puts on their own green jacket and walks around.
The dinner, the secret society dinner that they have where they're all wearing their green jackets of the past champions. I think that I just left kind of underwhelmed by the Masters this year. I wanted more. Sue me for being greedy sports fan here. Wanted it to be closer. Wanted somebody to challenge Scheffler. I mean, I guess hearing Morikawa say that he just got greedy in his game is probably the closest thing I can get to that. Somebody being actually honest and giving an honest assessment of his game and saying, I wanted it more, and I was beyond my own game. I got greedy. Morikawa not able to challenge him. I thought that was going to be a great final round. Actually thought Morikawa could have won that thing. He's won majors before. The moment's not too big for him.
There are 4 events for members at the Masters every year. You have the opening party in October. Remember, it closes over the summer. They just let the thing burn out, and then it's back in the fall. The governor's party in November. The closing party in May, but this is the one I would love to... The Jamboree in March.
Oh, the Jamboree.
The Jamboree. You had to remember Roger Goodell out there.
When was the last time you went to a Jamboree? I feel like maybe grade school, church Jamboree, lots of Jell-O molds, lemon bars. The Jamboree? Sounds weird. All that said, I want to be a patron someday. Though they look like they're having fun. The patrons look like... And hearing Brian Cozy, you'll talk about it last week, like that's something that I've got to get checked off the bucket list. That looks like it would be a lot of fun to go and experience for a day. Got to do it. But I was just kind of underwhelmed. And Scottie Scheffler's a remarkable golfer. And we've seen this act before. Now, how long can he maintain? How long can he remain at this elite level that he's at? And if he is the second coming of Tiger, which I don't know that anybody will be unless his name is Charlie, then I would just caution everybody to not fall too head over heels. Somebody will emerge and somebody will challenge him, and it won't.
There's just way too much talent on this tour today. Maybe he gets a third, maybe a fourth, but we're not talking about Tiger chasing down Jack or anything like that. The field is just so deep now.
Let's get to Jenna Cottrell. 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. We'll talk some Bills. We'll talk some NFL draft with Jenna next. You can join us at 866-4326-585, 866-4FAN.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, let's talk some Buffalo Bills as the offseason programs get underway today. 13-man sports. BuffaloPlus.com's Jenna Cottrell will go with her time. And joining us now in the Sports Bar, Jenna, we got plenty to talk to. I mean, we haven't spoken to you since Diggs was traded. The team is reporting, and I hear reports from Orchard Park that they're a little bit of concern that Diggs isn't there, that maybe some people were still expecting him to be there. How are you, Jenna?
I'm good. Never a dull offseason. How are you guys doing?
Well, Jenna, we're just kind of waiting for next week before we get to what the Bills should do, what they will do coming up next Thursday night. What are your thoughts here on Diggs, how this all kind of ended? Did that trade take you by surprise?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I was sitting on the couch with my fiance, and he said, Stephon Diggs just got traded. And I laughed, and I said, that didn't happen. And he said, well, Adam Schefter said it. And I was like, what? And he was very excited he got to break some Bills news to me. But it was astounding. I mean, I think we talked in the offseason leading up to that, with the cap hit and the situation that it would be, that the Bills would never really move on from Diggs. And then when it happened, you thought, wow, this is a team that's, the $31 million that they have to pay. They're trading him before June 1, which obviously that would have helped in terms of some of the salary cap things. And they're also trading him to a team that's really seen now as a contender after last season in the AFC. So I think it just, now that the dust has settled a little bit, it's still shocking to me, but I think it shows that the Bills were ready to move on. And they obviously got that second rounder back for next year, but it's a new era in terms of this Bills team. Obviously, the other offseason moves that were made, Jordan Poyer, Trey White, Mitch Morris, guys like that, no longer being on the team. But, yeah, if you were to ask me in, February if I expected this, I would have laughed in your face because who would have thought? But now, I mean, this is a post-Diggs Bills team, and we're going to have to see what Brandon Beane does in the draft because he even said it a couple weeks ago, this team is not as good as they were. So how do they address that now?
All right, so let's talk about that because opinions vary, and if you consume mock drafts, you have the Bills taking a wide receiver, you have others having the Bills taking a corner. It wouldn't surprise me if they went with an edge rusher in the first round. Jenna, what do you think is going to happen here? What's your early take on what Brandon Beane might decide to do here a week from Thursday?
Look, I thought before this that I was like, you go wide receiver in round 1. And now with the situation, it's like, wow, you really need, I mean, the Bills wide receivers do not scare you right now. You had Khalil Shakir, obviously, who was coming on, kind of emerging at the end of last season, obviously the addition of Curtis Samuel. But at the same point, it's like Diggs is gone, Gabriel Davis is also gone. So for me, it is wide receiver. I think for the Bills to get up to that tier 1 of guys, the Malik Neighbors, the Rome Odunze, the Marvin Harrison, it would take a lot. I don't think the Bills are willing to do that. But that second tier, a guy like Brian Thomas, is someone that kind of, to me, says, all right, he's got what I think would fit really well in Buffalo, and maybe the Bills would move up a couple spots to get him. Maybe they make a trade with Dallas at 25 or the Eagles at 22 or a situation like that. But, I mean, look, it's never good having a glaring hole going into the draft. But for this Bills team, that is where they're at. They need to, progress. They need to add more talent. They need to get a guy that's cheap on a rookie deal, those types of things. So I think in round 1, it's wide receiver. That being said, I would not be shocked if, maybe shocked isn't the right word, but if Brandon Beane decides, you know what, we're going with an edge rusher, I would say, oh, okay, I see that as well. But in terms of what I want them to do, it's wide receiver. 1,000%. That is where my head's at.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at the edge rusher position, couldn't you make the argument that's just as thin as the wide receiver position? Because you be banking on Von Miller actually being in the rotation, Jenna, and I mean, I give him credit for taking a pay cut, essentially, and he can earn that back, but my gosh, let's push Von aside there. You have Greg Rousseau, you have A.J. Epineza, and then what?
Yeah, no, I mean, they are very thin at that position. And I definitely hear what you're saying. I just think in the NFL, it's offense now. Defense, obviously a huge piece, but it is this Bills team in the offense, you got to score as many points as possible and having as many weapons to do it. That's what gets the job done. I mean, look, last season, in terms of what games have ended their seasons against the Chiefs, against the Bengals, like the Bills defense struggled in those moments. But look, if you score more points than the other team, it's a simple equation. So I get what you're saying, and that's why I wouldn't be terribly shocked if that was the case, if they went, with an edge rusher or someone like that. And you absolutely can make the case for going defense, but I just feel like where this team is at, I mean, their wide receiving core does not scare anyone. And you need to have someone that, is that top dog type of thing and defenses are scheming up for. And we were talking in the Buffalo Plus podcast studio, like Josh Allen can't throw and catch the ball. So just having other guys out there, I think it's just so important. So, and I expect the Bills to have a couple wide receivers that they draft this upcoming next week. So we'll see, but I'm going wide receiver round one. Make the case for, you could make the case even for a defensive tackle, someone like that. But yeah, I want offense. I want to see what Joe Brady can do with his offense, his guys, that type of thing. So we'll see.
Jenna, when you mentioned wide receiver and the Bills taking maybe not just one, but two wide receivers, who knows how many they could take when it's all said and done in this year's NFL draft. We kind of know that they have a type. I think they put a value on guys who can separate, and I'm curious as to which receivers you think might be most in line with what Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are looking for in terms of a wide receiver for Josh Allen.
I mean, I think that's the great thing about this draft in terms of wide receiver is there is so much depth. I mean, you look at some of the guys, though, if they wanted to say at 28, A.D. Mitchell is another name that people have talked about. But that top line speed, I think that is something that, that's a separator. That is a big play potential. Those are the things that the Bills really do look for. So for me, I feel like that, again, with the draft and the way things are set up, like, you could make the case that the Bills trade back out of 28 because there's so much depth at the position. I don't want them to do that, but I also get that, how they want to go about it and what they see fit. But, I mean, that's the great thing about this draft class is there is so much talent. You hear names like, Troy Franklin, other players like that, where you're like, okay, maybe the Bills can make a case for having, you could kind of plug and place different types of guys in there, so we'll have to wait and see.
13 Wham's Jenna Cottrell, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Back to the Diggs conversation, because there's going to be all these kind of ramifications, and one of them, Jenna, is I'm looking at Josh Allen, and the idea that, sure, Josh was here before Diggs got here, but Josh was still a newbie in the league. I mean, the thought that Josh could actually grow and develop from this, because this is 100% his offense now. He doesn't have to bow. I mean, Diggs, how much weight did Diggs carry in that room that, the offense had to bend to him a little bit?
Diggs is the captain, obviously, and I think for Josh, because Josh was kind of emerging as Diggs, and Diggs was coming from Minnesota. Diggs was kind of that guy, all this stuff, big name. I think for Allen, there was a little bit of that pressure. Of like, okay, I got to make sure that I get my guy, he's happy, all this stuff. And Diggs, a phenomenal player, obviously, but we saw the cryptic tweets, we saw his brother tweeting. Sometimes it felt like it could be a bit of a hot and cold type of interaction. And I think that does weigh on a guy, especially like Josh Allen, where you feel like, all right, I got to get the ball to him. And look, you want to get your ball to your number one wide receiver anyways. But I think for this Bills team, it's always the we above the I. And I think this is what's going to make it interesting is Josh Allen, I think he needs to be more demanding as a leader and a captain on this team. This is his team. There's absolutely no doubt about it. He has Diggs gone. How is he going to be in that role of, getting more out of his players?
Yeah.
And having it be his team. And I'm genuinely curious to see how that goes, because we've talked to Josh and he says, I'm not really that vocal of a leader. I'm not like a rah-rah guy. That's fine. You can lead in your own way. But now more is expected. Now even more is expected of you. So how are you going to rise to that challenge? And that is something I'm genuinely curious to see, because that's good. That's what needs to happen. So that to me is something that is going to be huge to watch this season, because Diggs was a guy that you saw that could fire up other players. He would fire up. We saw the videos on the sidelines, him firing up Josh Allen. okay, so now how is Allen going to be that for the other guys on this team?
Yeah, it will be interesting. And, you know, Josh, everybody calls him an alpha, and we want to believe that he's got that dog in him. We hear that, right? But we also know that when he doesn't perform, it's always a woe is me, I need to play better type of thing. And in the moment, I think what I'm looking for out of Allen is a little bit of that fire that Diggs had no problem displaying. Not as a distraction, but the word I use is mattable. Be a little mattable. If somebody screws something up, don't be afraid to call them out, because ultimately he's going to be judged on the performance, not the guy that screwed up the route or the guy that you know dropped the catch. Josh Allen, if he is the alpha that everybody says he is, needs to display that a little bit more now, with Diggs being the last impediment out of his way.
I completely agree. That's why I say be more demanding. You saw Tom Brady go up to guys and be like, you need to be better. I don't know if Josh has done that, or if he is like that, if that makes sense. I think he is such a kind of team guy. He's pretty laid back. He's relaxed. I think he wants everyone to like him, which is fair. I get that. But I think I want to see if he can evolve and take that next step and say, I see what you're doing right now. That's good, but you can be way better than that, and that's what I need from you. I need that from you going forward.
Jenna Cottrell, Buffalo plus 13 wham. So wide receiver, number one need. We've identified defensive line. All right, so you're shopping. You're Brandon Beane. What are the things you need to put in the card here in this draft, Jenna?
I mean, look, you talk about safety as well, I think, for this team. I mean, you could even make a case for linebacker later on, because obviously Matt Milano is getting older. Terrell Bernard has been fantastic, but, you know, you want to have some of that depth. You could go offensive line in terms of what do you want to see. Like, there are, I wouldn't say glaring holes after wide receiver and defensive line, but of course there's things that you need to get better at. Like, safety to me is one of those things too, because, I mean, I think for this team, it's going to look so. That's the one thing that I'm so curious when I get to Buffalo, when we're allowed there for, you know, the off-season activities, is just seeing the guys out there, because it's going to look so different. This team, like, for so long, it was, you know, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer and Trey White and Mitch Morris and Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. Like, going up there now, or over there now, I'm so curious what that will feel like, because there are so many guys that have been there for so long not going to be there. And going back to your other question about Allen, like, I want to see how he does interact with everyone, because there are going to be so many new faces on this roster, or guys that haven't really been leaders having kind of to be out there in those positions. So I also do think that is why training camp at Fisher will be important. Nothing is finalized yet, but Mike Catalano and 13-man talks are going in that direction. But I think that is another thing that would be huge for this team, is because of what training camp here in Rochester can offer. That sense of going away, a little bit of that, you know, let's all be around the campfire, have some stories. You don't have the distractions of home and all that stuff. It's like, come to Fisher, be in the dorms, have that team building aspect. And I think that would really give this team a head start. So that is something, though, like, going into the Orchard Park, I'm like, wow. Dan and I were joking. We're like, we're going to recognize people, right? Just as a joke, because it's like, things are going to look so different.
And we hear from them when? Wednesday, correct, Jenna?
Yeah, so we're going to go to Buffalo on Thursday. So Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, and some other select players will talk.
Right.
So we'll see. And obviously that will be the first time we'll hear from Allen. Questions about Stephon Diggs, I know, will be asked, so maybe we'll get some clarity. Knowing Josh Allen, he will be very kind and respectful. But we'll see if maybe there's another side that we haven't heard about or anything like that. But, yeah, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott also talking as well.
13 wham and Buffalo Plus's Jenna Cottrell. Jenna, like, you mentioned this from the get-go. I have to ask the follow-up here, because I think Danger can relate. I can relate to a certain extent, where you were mentioning you learned of the Diggs trade from your fiance. All right, now, like, Rochester is like because, like, if it's a Rochester guy, you may be stuck here for a while here. Like Danger married the Rochester girl here.
We actually bought a house, so
not going anywhere.
So yes, we are. I was going to say, so we are. I love it though. So I'm not originally from like here, not from Rochester, but I'm from upstate New York. I grew up in Saratoga Springs. My family's 3.5 hours away, and I remember when I first got here to Wham, I said, "Oh, I have a 3-year contract," and I was so upset because I was like, 3 years? I have to be in Rochester for 3 years? That was 8 years ago. So it's funny how life works, but no, I really do. I love the community. You know what it is I have friends that work in other TV stations across the country. I have friends who are at networks, and like, there is nothing like the community spirit around sports here, especially the Bills. Like, you know, when game days are, the unity that it brings, everyone cheering on a team like Buffalo. It's just really cool, and something that, you know, I have, like I said, there's friends that I have that work in other markets, but the commitment to the team is just not the same. And so I just really love what the Bills mean to so many people here. So that's why I really do love my job and what I get to do, especially at Wham and Buffalo Plus. But yeah, you're stuck with me, so sorry.
Saratoga Springs, I did not realize that. Did you take offense to what Rebecca Lobo said?
No, because I hate Albany. I shouldn't say I hate it, but I mean, Albany is not my favorite place in the Capital District. I thought it was a low shot, but I was like, all right, well, whatever.
It's
Just
not like
brush
Albany
it
can
off,
defend
it's
itself.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Saratoga. So if she said that about Saratoga, absolutely I would take offense, because I just was back there this weekend and I was like, it was nice growing up, but I go back and I'm like, oh my goodness, it is really, really nice. So I think people think like my upbringing was a lot different going back now, because I'm like, oh, we were not rich, but going there now, I'm like, wow, the downtown and everything is so nice.
Jenna, what are you and Dan and Mike? You mentioned Thursday you'll be down there, and you know, the media availability of Bean and McDermott and a handful of the players. Leading up to that, what can we expect here at Buffalo Plus and 13 Wham Sports?
Yeah, so right now we have an interview that we're about to do with Matt Miller of ESPN, just talking draft, what he sees from guys, what players he thinks in particular would be a good fit in Buffalo, and where he thinks the Bills will end up picking in that first round. And then we did a mock draft. We did a 7-round mock draft, all of us, which God bless Brandon Bean, because I don't know how he does it. There's so many names, so many players. But we did that, and we'll have that on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. And then, we'll be in Buffalo later this week.
Jenna, thanks for your time, and let's catch up after the draft.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Jenna Cottrell, working BuffaloPlus.com and 13 Wham Sports, and not going anywhere.
No.
I was going to ask Jenna, because I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I did see her at the Bachelor auction a few weeks ago for cancer support community. And obviously that's probably a cause that's very near and dear to Jenna's heart, being a survivor. So we appreciate that support. But when I saw her there, I was like, And I don't know anything about Jenna's personal life, but I was wondering if she was putting a paddle up in the air for one of the available bachelors that night. But apparently not.
So probably just helping out. That's a common theme, right? Like, hey, I'm only going to be here for a couple years, and then
preach.
Yeah.
Yeah, preach. I remember thinking, when she was saying, I got a 3-year contract, I remember thinking the same thing when I first moved here. 97, moved here, signed a 3-year deal, and thought this is going to be a great stepping stone to, and then you meet, fall in love with, and marry the local girl, and the rest is history. You're not going anywhere, pal. But no regrets, and I'm sure Jenna feels the same way. If you're planting down roots, could be worse things to be doing. Appreciate Jenna giving us some time here. Jenna Cottrell at 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com to talk some Buffalo Bills in the sports bar.
Yeah, as we have time for your calls on the other side. Our area code is 585. You know this. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. You got a story?
Well, this is kind of something I found amusing from over the weekend, where the owner of the Arizona Coyotes puts out a statement saying, "Stand by, I'll be putting out a statement." That, like, literally, like, the reports came out that
a statement for a statement.
A statement for a statement. So this team is moving to Salt Lake City, but this is the interesting part. Now, I was kind of under the assumption that tonight was the last night in the National Hockey League for everyone. No, it's not. It just happens to be for the Sabres. And Sabre fans nodding their head, yes, thankfully. Let's wrap this up. Let's get going here. Buffalo and Tampa Bay tonight, but listen anyways here on the Fan. Arizona finishes up at home on Wednesday. Take a guess what ticket prices are going for in this game. How about $532 the get-in price in Arizona?
Really?
For Mullet Arena. They're taking on Edmonton, which, let's say, where were you all along here?
Well,
how many years? So
yeah, I mean, demand because it's a smaller arena, and also maybe because this is the last chance you'll have to see not just the Coyotes, but Connor McDavid. Well, McDavid's been injured. I wonder if he's in that game. Yeah. Well, it's always been about the owner, right? It's not really ever been about the fan base's passion, because I think they are passionate about Coyotes hockey down there. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is,
well, they've never had stable ownership that
right.
said, here's what we're going to do with the arena, and here's where we're going to cut a deal. And the owner was always, which that's their right, concerned about making sure that they get a good arena deal, that they're making money, and all these other arena deals were not as good. So the talk is actually that somehow Arizona is going to be at the top of the list for an if this guy does win the land deal and puts up his own arena, they'll be gifted another team.
They should. If Atlanta can get 4 cracks at it, why can't Arizona get a second? Like I said, I have friends that live down there, and they are very passionate about their hockey. You got to remember, in Arizona, you got a lot of transplants from up north there by Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana. They just like to go down there. Whether they're snowbirding or they've just made it their permanent residence. But the passion for hockey in that market, I don't think is the question. I think the question is, who's the owner? Because the owner's a jerk and nobody wants to do business with him, so they're going to lose the team and have to bring it back.
Yeah, and if they don't get the arena deal done this year, you're not getting an expansion team. That goes without saying, 3 years. But one notable thing, and I think this is probably good, the Coyote name, the logo, everything's staying behind. So
Good.
Utah gets to start all new here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll drink to that in the sports bar. Some takes on tap.
Never did I think that I would be having a WNBA take, Danger, but this is where we're at. No, it's not on Caitlin Clark. Just a little local love tonight. Could this be historic for Rochester? I will explain here. And I got a final thought here on the Masters, and it's time for a little freshening up here.
Okay. We will take a quick break and come back with I'll Drink to That. Some takes on tap next in the sports bar. You can join us as well. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Infinity Sports Network.
I'm a little weird with my pizza. I don't like sauce.
Wait, what?
We've hired a toddler.
Scotty Scheffler, the new face of golf.
Man, CBS was amazing to Vern, but they did Billy Joel so dirty last night.
Off-season conditioning program underway today.
Tom Brady, he recently said that he believes Josh Allen will be the next quarterback to win his first Super Bowl.
Let's go!
It is Marathon Monday in Boston.
Mike Danger.
Hear me out. Pre-show dad run. What do you think? I just think it's a good way to set a tone every afternoon.
Gene Battaglia.
Is there any food like you won't touch?
Hate beans. Not a bean guy. Can't stand beans.
Coconut. I just cannot down coconut in any way.
Amerks hockey.
Clinch a spot in the Calder Cup playoffs.
Playoffs?
Go Sabres. Season finale tonight in Tampa.
We have the end of the NBA regular season. The play-in matchups.
The WNBA draft is tonight. I'm excited because of Caitlin Clark.
Officially becoming an Indiana Fever.
Nice.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free to download Odyssey app. You can even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play. 95.7 The Fan. And also appreciate y'all checking us out. Our video stream on our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. You can watch the video stream on Twitch as well. Twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Who just destroyed all credibility here. The Red Sox lost the Guardians 6-0. I don't know. What am I having a stroke? What's going on
Who cares? Nobody cares. It's okay.
Right.
You can move on.
Guardian fans care.
Well, Guardian fans may care, but here's the thing. Like, the world moves fast, and sometimes things fall through the cracks.
Like, where did you get that from?
Happens all the time.
Just, just put something in front of me and I read it.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
Go F yourself, Rochester. No. Let's get to I'll Drink to That, some takes on tap here in the Sports Bar.
This I do know tonight. So you've got the Sabres tonight. But more people watching the Sabres of the WNBA draft to watch Caitlin Clark going across the
I'm watching the Sabres. That's me. But, yes, I see your point.
Yeah, it's, I look, the Sabres are going to win tonight. You know this, right? Because
I hope so.
Tampa, what do they have to play for? They're just kind of coasting in. They know their opponent, whatnot. I want to bring this up, and not for Caitlin Clark, okay? Just a second for Deja Fair. Edison Tech, Syracuse, you know her story. She could go top 10 tonight. There's some mocks that are going number 9, maybe number 10 to Connecticut. Now, if you're wondering, would 9 be a record for a Rochester athlete in any draft? The answer is no. We'll have the answer in a little bit. But this is the take. Got a pretty good run here. Isaiah Stewart, Thomas Bryant, Jalen Pickett, Anthony Lamb, who's been in the NBA recently. And now Fair is getting in at that level. Look, kudos to our coaches in the area. I think we way outdo the ratio here of talent to NBA or talent to WNBA. Wish we had something close to kind of call our own. And honestly, once upon a time, I thought maybe the WNBA, but no, they've outgrown Rochester too. Oh, by the way, here's the answer. In 1994, the number 4 overall pick in the NHL draft, Jason Bonsignor. Did you ever have a chance to meet him? While that didn't work out, I do credit him. He was still involved in youth hockey up until recently, here in the Rochester
I think my
area.
sister-in-law went to school with him.
Yeah,
and
that would make sense.
I've never had the chance to meet him, but I've only heard stories. And that was...
number 4 overall.
Number 4 overall is a big deal for Rochester,
Yeah.
right? That's still the highest drafted athlete from our area. Interesting.
I mean, I guess there might be a disclaimer I'm not aware of. Maybe there was when, the soccer league was starting. Maybe Abby Wanbeck was. I don't remember how that was. No, Abby Wanbeck doesn't get that.
No. But you're the one that always tells me that we used to have an NFL team and we used to have an NBA team. I mean, who can say? We're just making stuff up. I'm going to say that we had an NBA player here that was drafted number 1 overall to, what was the team that you call them? The Rochester, with the Royals?
The Royals, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, keep living in your fantasy land there, pal. Whatever you say. The NBA play-in tournament gets underway tomorrow, Gino, and there's a team in the East that to me feels like they could go on a surprise run, and that team is the Sixers for me. Now, I know Embiid is far from 100%, but when he is playing, when he has played, he's been the best player in the league, and they don't lose when he's out there. Really, this is less about Philly and more about the mess that the East is in going into the postseason here. The Bucks are frauds. The Knicks have a nice regular season on their resume. That's it. The Magic don't have any postseason experience, and the Celtics are poorly coached. I could see Philly kind of surprising some people in the East, much like Miami did last year, upsetting a lot of entitled fan bases who think that the NBA's regular season record really matters.
Well, they're in a good spot being the 7 because they're home, and you'd have to get tripped up twice, basically, the way it works. You're kind of reviewing here. 9-10, the winner of that does not get you in. 7 would automatically get you in. But if 7 loses to 8, basically all Philadelphia has to do is beat Miami the one game. But what did Miami do last year? They came out of this and they ended up not.
Yeah, this whole act of we're not going to really play our best until we get to the play-in or to the postseason. I mean, that act, I don't know that you can repeat that act with regularity.
Yeah, and there's been kind of a new movement here, and this is very New York-centric, okay? That you, as the top seed and then the second seed, should be able to pick your opponent. Now, if you're Boston, you're picking one of the play-in teams. But if you're the Knicks, you sure as hell not picking Philadelphia.
That's right.
You're picking Orlando. You're picking Indiana. Give me Cleveland again. Heck, I don't know what's going on with Antetokounmpo, but
by the way, I think Indiana wins that matchup. I don't think they get past Indiana.
Listen, would it be a failure if Milwaukee?
No, it's not a failure. We just fire your coach again because Doc Rivers won't survive that. And you can go on about how the season wasn't a failure.
Wondering at what point does the NHL adopt this format too? Because can you imagine, like, oh my gosh, the Sabres made the playoffs. Did they really? If they were the 10th seed, that's what it's going to come to. We'll break the drought someday.
When they expand, I think when they expand and there's they're going to have to find more ways to get more teams
involved
and engaged until the very end. Expansion means you adopt this format in the NHL.
We do not need expansion in the NHL.
No, you're right.
We don't.
But there's money to be made, and they will make it.
I know. So, like in our lifetime, we're going to get to 40 teams in each of these leagues just because we need money here. My final Masters thought, how could I forget about this? The fake birds.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the happy little chirping birds being dubbed in. Yeah, and at the direction of the Masters, who they control all of this. This is their production. CBS, we need birds here just to... Look, we're all worried about AI. Please, we've been dealing with this kind of stuff for too long now.
Yeah, I blew my kids' minds sharing some of the facts about the Masters. The idea that the sand in the bunkers isn't really the sand that you would find on a beach, or the sand that we would. It's ground up quartz specifically for the Masters. The idea that there are only a handful of sponsors. I mean, I think it was 3 this year, right? It was IBM, it was AT&T, it was Mercedes-Benz.
They have only 6 overall, but maybe that was all that ended up in the TV.
That's all I saw on TV were those 3 kind of in an endless loop. You mentioned it last week. The way they're temperate around the greens. They have heating and moisture control underneath the greens.
Yeah, if it gets too dry, they'll moisture up, and hey, we have some rain, sucks it right out. Not just the greens danger, but every walkway. If you were at Oak Hill, and look, this is not a diss on Oak Hill. I love Oak Hill. We all love that. But if you went on that Saturday, came home, I was steeped in mud.
Yeah. Sloppy mess.
Yeah, no problem with that.
That would never happen, right? Yeah. My kids, I was explaining all of this to my kids, and they're like, wow. And kind of like also making a play for, at some point before your old man passes, maybe a trip to Augusta to go to the Masters would be fun. Let's see if we can make that happen.
How funny was this? So every year when the leaders are on 13, I got to call my father right when they're doing that. The Azaleas. As I'm calling him yesterday, I get the text from him. Wow, they look spectacular. Because he's a second ahead of me. I'm on the stream. He's on
All right, it's an annual tradition in the sports bar. You have to explain your bond with your old man and the Masters every year.
Every year I do this. This goes back to when I was in high school, when we're watching the Masters, and this is what you do with a lot of kids, right? You watch sports with your old man, and we're watching the Masters, and I just kind of make a comment like, wow, look at those flowers. And we're in gray, crappy Rochester at that point. And it's like, wow, what they do is they make sure that they bloom at the perfect time. The ultraviolet lights they'll bring out at night, and if they're coming out too quick, then they're just going to ice them down. So they pop just perfectly when the Masters go. I'm like, wow. Now, mind you, this is a long time ago. The Masters are already doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Fast forward 1 year. Again, watching the Masters with my old man. They come up on 13, literally the hole that's called the azalea hole, and there they are again, the flowers. Did I ever tell you how they get? And I'm just nodding my head because my dad is telling me the same story he told me last year.
All right.
Fast forward another year, and now here it again, just right on cue, like the Masters wants to show you these beautiful flowers. And I just decided I'm going to bait him, and I say, wow, look at those flowers. How do they get them to bloom so that? Well, did I ever tell you something?
I like that. I'm trying to do that with the bunkers of my kids.
Yeah.
It's not really sand. It's just ground up very fine quartz. It looks better on TV than the sand you would find on a beach or in a regular golf course.
Start your own running joke.
That's
there.
right.
So this is like a running joke now for 30 plus years that I've had with my old man that, okay, we're not watching the Masters together anymore, but I better make that call on Sunday afternoon when they're going
Those
up 13.
azaleas look amazing this year. My favorite observation from the Masters, and this isn't a new thing, you see it all the time, the dozens of grown adults that put up their hand or their fist to make just some sort of contact with a pro golfer. Like you're tight. Like you and Tiger are boys from back in the day. I think Tiger acknowledged one on his walk off the course yesterday. Scotty maybe indulged one or two. Seeing Bryson DeChambeau sign a kid's flag or a hat after taking some practice cuts is awesome. That's fun. It softens his image. It's good for the game. But he's doing it for kids. So let's just all be grown-ups. No need to get a fist bump from a pro golfer. Stay behind the rope and act your age. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. The closest thing I got to this, and tell me if this was appropriate or not. Like, again, going back to my experience at Oak Hill, where we just kind of camped out at the first green, which was great because then you see everybody kind of coming up and like right in the ropes. And Morikawa makes this putt that was great, saves par, and I just give a fist bump and we make eye contact. And Morikawa just gives me the nod.
Yeah.
That's acceptable, right? As
I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
You're
just like,
reacting.
Yes.
You're reacting. Every fan is reacting. You're entitled to react. I'm not saying, look, I'm not trying to take all the fun out of watching golf, but the idea that you're going to like bend over the rope and lean your arm out, your fist out, or you're trying to make contact, it's like, what? You're not even being introduced. I mean, shake a guy's hand if you're being introduced to him, but like it feels like something a kid would do, but way too many adults and grown-ups are doing it.
Yeah, this is coming from that, and it turned into a meme yesterday. Some guy putting out his hand, but he's behind the tree.
Oh, it was Vern Lundquist.
Oh, that was Vern Lundquist.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know idea that was Vern
Tiger
Lundquist.
going over to congratulate Vern Lundquist on an epic career calling this major, and he did it for 40 years. Tiger went out of his way to go over and shake Vern's hand in the middle of his round to congratulate him and thank him for his years.
The Tiger stories yesterday. Tiger was such a mess that he was playing with the schlubby kid who basically
the amateur.
he had his high school buddy caddying. Can you imagine? Like
Tiger's walking along this guy. He smells like a medical emergency. He just looks amazing. He's all disheveled. And, but played pretty well. Played pretty well considering he's playing next to Tiger. I mean, he didn't let the moment get too big for him.
Well, this is what we're kind of hoping for. This is the best case scenario now with Tiger that, hey, you made the cut and you didn't withdraw. You were up till the end.
I just feel like, man, he looked like he was struggling all week, didn't he? I mean, it just felt like he's not anywhere near the kind of shape that he used to be. And now, what I don't like about it the most is it gives a little bit more added credence to anybody who wants to dispute the way Tiger won all those years and the way he dominated the sport all those years. And I'm not naive. All these guys are probably looking to gain an edge. And maybe not Scotty Scheffler because he can do no wrong. But in that era, every professional athlete,
not just golf, everywhere.
Yeah, every professional athlete was looking for an edge. Not everyone was using, but everyone was looking for, or at least knew of, ways that they could get an edge. And I have a hard time believing that Tiger wasn't a part of that.
Well, It's the car accident, right? Like when his leg snaps in half the way he did. I mean, just walking the course. We were saying this you made the cut. Now you got to do it all over again on Saturday. Now you got to do it all over again on Sunday.
After playing a lot on Friday, right? Because
Yeah.
you had to finish your first round and play your second round. Yeah, I think he's probably walking a little gingerly today. Probably a little sore. I still watch and still admire and still root for Tiger. But now I almost am more curious about, what gets me and gets my attention more? It's not Tiger, it's Charlie. I want to see when Charlie's out there. I want to see when the two of them are out there together. I want to watch the videos of them side by side and comparing just how much Charlie looks like his old man in terms of his swing and his play and his mannerisms and everything like we could see the second coming. I'm not going to put that much pressure on the kid, obviously, but at some point, you imagine... we talk about LeBron and Bronny. I want to see what Charlie Woods looks like if he ever gets a chance to be a pro golfer.
Well, Charlie is 15. The U.S. Amateur comes when? 2027? That's going to put him right there, Danger.
Oh, wow. Well, that would be a draw, wouldn't it?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That would be, you're following around there, and the old man will be there.
That would be a draw. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to now, because I just think it's remarkable when you see the two of them swinging side by side. It's impeccable. He's a clone. He's a mini Tiger. I don't know that means that he's going to be what Tiger was, and I think that's probably too much to put on any kid, but it'll be fun to kind of monitor and keep tabs on here over the course of the next few years.
Yeah, so Augusta National, if Charlie ever wins it, let Tiger put the jacket on. Bend the rules for your dumb tradition once.
It's so awkward and weird. I know that country club life is different, but my God, having the chairman there asking these scripted questions. Well, chairman, it was really exciting.
What is Nance doing there? That should be Nance running the point, or somebody was. No, we have the chairman. Like, it's paid programming is what it is.
It was awkward and clumsy, and you could tell that they're just stalling while they're getting everything set up in Butler Cabin and gathering everybody that they need to gather for this pre-planned awkward exchange of wearing the jacket. Oh.
And it's the same B-roll every single year with Nicholas and Faldo and Phil Mickelson talking about a win and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, yeah, hey, we didn't freshen this up at all.
Yeah, I don't know that they ever will. And I don't know. I just the tournament has delivered in the past, obviously, but this year for me it was just boring. Because Scheffler is so good and there's nothing to really pick apart and there's nobody really that there's no chief rival of his. I'm like, okay. And he just, his golf was spectacular. He was fantastic.
It was also, too, like, you saw guys just missing terribly down the stretch. They all I don't want to say choke, but that's what that course will do to you. Like, if you had somebody at least within striking distance and making pars, but they weren't making pars. One by one, they were all falling apart.
We'll go to Detroit next. Our buddy Russell Brown covers the NFL draft for fantasy pros and betting pros. Let's talk a little bit more about the wide receivers that could be in the scope of Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. Who do they like? Who do you think they like? Who fits the type of receiver that the Buffalo Bills are into? And what about other positions of need for the Buffalo Bills? There are several. Russell Brown does a great job covering the NFL draft over there at Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, and he'll join us next to talk some Bills here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, let's talk some NFL draft. Let's talk some Buffalo Bills NFL draft. Russell Brown, NFL draft analyst at Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, joining us now in the Sports Bar. Russ, good to have you on with us. Appreciate the time as always. And I know a lot of people, since the trade of Stephon Diggs, are of the belief that the Bills will be very heavily invested in wide receiver this year in the draft, and it's a deep enough class where you could be heavily invested. But just how invested do you think Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are going to be? Do you see the Bills as a potential team that could sneak in as high as the top 10 to get their guy? What's your take, and what was your take on the Bills trading Steph Diggs in relation to what it means for them in the first round of the NFL draft here in a couple of weeks?
Well, fellas, it's great to be back on the show. I will be honest. I was a little surprised that they went ahead and traded him. I was not expecting that to happen by any means, just simply because of the dead cap hit and everything like that. But clearly they didn't care about what it cost. They just wanted to get that deal done. The more and more you look at their roster, I mean, certainly they are in need of a true number one receiver. They have a lot of number twos and number threes and beyond. So I could see them getting aggressive. I mean, they have a lot of draft capital this year. And when you look at what they have, I mean, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I mean, what, 11, 12 picks in this year's draft alone. They could make a move and get up there. I mean, they've got the additional second-round pick next year. So we could see something where maybe they get up to 9 potentially with the Chicago Bears. I think that's a potential trade down team, just simply because of the capital that they have this year. It's very little. They've only got 4 picks, and we already know they're taking the first pick with Caleb Williams. So if maybe the board falls to where Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors ends up being there, and maybe, let's say Rome Odunze goes to 6 with the Giants, and the Bears don't necessarily feel like Neighbors is a fit simply because of who they have on the roster with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and stuff like that. Not saying Neighbors isn't a fine player. He's my third-ranked player. But maybe they just don't find him as a fit, just hypothetically speaking. Maybe that's enough for the Bills to get up there and get him Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. So I think it's possible, but the way I see it, I think maybe a smaller move up, somewhere, up to 19 or 20, maybe 22, somewhere around that range to maybe get the next tier of receivers, whether that's Xavier Worthy out of Texas, A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, or maybe even a Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU.
How would you compare this year's wide receiver class as compared to others? Because we're not the experts here. On paper, you have all these names, and they all sound good to me. So does this mean this year's class is necessarily deeper than in years past?
Yes, this is a great receiver draft. I mean, it's one of those types of groups when you look at it, it's very top heavy. And my fear sometimes is just maybe because we've been scarred in previous drafts. You go back throughout the years, you look at maybe 2021, somewhere around there. You'll look at some of these drafts and you'll go, man, I loved that receiver on the second day, that third day of the draft. I felt like he was going to be a great fit, and he ended up not panning out. He played, 5 or 6 games in the NFL, and now he's in the Canadian Football League. But when I look at this draft, I mean, I have 11 receivers ranked in my top 50, 12 receivers ranked in my top 52, 14 ranked in my top 65. So I'm very wide receiver heavy with 17 ranked in the top 100. And granted, my board doesn't go as deep as other analysts or other websites out there. But it just goes to show that this is a deep wide receiver draft. Much of it, again, I think very top heavy, but I'll be very interested to see how, Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall, some day 2 options potentially for the Bills, how those guys pan out in this coming draft coming up.
Russ, we know that today edge rusher Latu Latu was visiting the Bills on a top 30 visit, and I think that you can't question anything, right? Like, you can't say that anything is off the table when you consider that the Bills just traded Stephon Diggs, and nobody thought that they would do something like that. So with that in mind, with that being the spirit of this, do you think the Bills could go defensive end or edge rusher if they stay at 28 or somewhere there in the first round? And if they did, who would be available to them?
I think they certainly could. I think it is a need in a sense. I mean, I know they have Von Miller, but Von is a player that has struggled to stay healthy, and hasn't necessarily been the productive player that he once was, which is understandable with age and injuries piling up over the course of time. Clearly, we like Greg Russo. I think everybody is a fan of his game. But when you look at it, they need somebody opposite of that. And I think that they could be intrigued by this defensive end grouping, not necessarily, moving up for a Latu or having him fall into their lap. Maybe it happens. But maybe they would fall for a guy like Darius Robinson and kind of the type of player that he is. He certainly fits what they look for when you look at, the threshold of pass rushers and the versatility, the alignment versatility. I think he would make a lot of sense because they could move him inside. He could play outside as a 5-tech, a 4-eye. So he just really fits what they're looking for. And again, at 6'5", 285, he moves really well, and he's got great speed to power. Another name, Chop Robinson, Penn State. I think he'll very much be there at that point in the draft. Maybe not, but I think so. I'm not his biggest fan, but that doesn't mean that he's not a great player. I've swung and missed on players before. Chop just lacks the production that you see from the position, but he's got a great first step, and he's a really good athlete. So there's much to be desired there, but you're really going to be betting on him getting stronger against the run and getting home more consistently against the pass. So the hope is that he can do that, but it's very unclear at what he's going to be moving forward.
Russell Brown, he is an NFL draft analyst, fantasy pros, and betting pros, our guest here in the Sports Bar. In order for any of these guys to kind of come down to whether the Bills pick, where they're slotted at 28 or maybe they move up a little bit, well, what will help is if quarterbacks go ahead. And Russ, certainly Chicago's going to take one, Washington, New England, Minnesota, Denver. These are all teams, maybe the Giants, that could all be in the market for a quarterback. So here's my question. I see, and I wish, by the way, that we could bet on this in New York State because this will be a lot of fun. I'm reading the over-under on quarterbacks in the first round at 4.5. Knowing all these teams need quarterbacks, that looks too good to be true. Am I falling into a trap there?
It's so tough to say. It feels like a trap to me, to be completely honest, just simply because when I look at Michael Penix and Bo Nix, I know, in recent weeks there's been some buzz that the Broncos and the Raiders are going to be intrigued by Nix and Penix. But when you look at their tape, they are second-round guys. And when you look at what they've done in the pre-draft process, they're second-round guys. I mean, Penix and Nix, they didn't have great Senior Bowls. They were fine. They didn't light it up like we thought. There was this expectation that maybe we saw a Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield type of rise up forwards, but that's just not the case. And with Penix, there's so many injury concerns. And with Bo Nix, I mean, he's played 61 games in his career. It's like he kind of is what he is, and he's not necessarily a guy that I feel like can take your offense or your roster or your team to the next level. Maybe he does that in Denver, so I think maybe he could get into 12. Maybe there's a team that trades up to get a quarterback, but ultimately we've seen this in years past. I mean, at one point, you go back a few years ago, there was conversation in Detroit about Malik Willis being the number 2 overall pick. They obviously went with Aiden Hutchinson. It's like we kind of fall into this trap sometimes with these quarterbacks, and we make them up to be a little bit more than they are, and I think the reality will set in, and I think it'll more so become the game of, do the Giants move up from 47 to get up into the 30s and take Bo Nix or Michael Penix? The same thing with the Raiders at 44. I think day 2 is more so early day 2. They're landing spots as quarterbacks at this point.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about another quarterback that we haven't mentioned yet because so much is made of his resume, and this guy's a winner. He just wins. He just always wins. Yet when you watch him, it's almost unorthodox, and maybe your eyes and your tape, sees more than what we've seen. But how high up could J.J. McCarthy go? And if that team does take him in the top 10, are you comfortable with that, knowing that there are some questions around just his overall skill set?
Yeah, I mean, JJ, I think, is a fine player, and I understand why teams would fall in love with him. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes off the Bill Parcells rule of quarterbacks, and I don't have those rules in front of me. I'm trying to remember them offhand. But one, you gotta win over 28 games in your career. He was 27-1. I mean, that's going to check a box. You got to graduate. You have to check all these boxes, and he checks like 5 out of the 6. So he is that type of player that NFL teams will build their roster around. I think when you look at Brock Purdy, I think he's kind of similar in a sense, the way he plays quarterback. we'll see if he's as good as Purdy. I mean, the arm strength is a little bit questionable at times on deeper throws. Ball placement can get sporadic, but I think he can go certainly as high as 3 to New England. I think he could very much be in the play for Minnesota to trade up and get him. I've kind of thought that since the Senior Bowl. Just the thought of JJ not being at the Senior Bowl, he made himself the most money of any quarterback in the draft because he jumped Penix and Nix from not being there. So I think what you're able to see with him is you can win with him. You get a good structure, a good roster around him, a good offense. He can operate it efficiently, win you football games, and he's just so calm, cool, and collected and holds himself together that's going to win teams over for sure.
We're talking Russell Brown. He is a draft expert, formerly Cover One, now working for Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Russell, when this whole journey began, and I'm going to come full circle here because I originally thought, well, before the Diggs trade, well, I could see the Bills taking a receiver in the second round, and they do need help at safety. They do need a return man. What about Cooper DeJean? Where do you think the Iowa player kind of gets? Is he a first rounder in your opinion? Where do you think he may fall?
Well, he didn't fall as a first rounder on my board, just simply because of the concerns that I have with him. Is he's a little bit stiff in his hips. I thought there were times that he could have rotated or flipped his hips a little bit more consistently. But I do believe he's going to go in the first round, and I think he's going to go probably sooner than most of us think. I think Indianapolis is probably the highest he'll go in this draft. I think he's just a great fit. I mean, so much of the NFL is cover 1 and cover 3 based, but there's a lot of quarters coverage and stuff like that. But teams like versatile defensive backs. They like guys that can play zone, they can play in the slot, they can play man, they can play safety, and Cooper does all of those things. He's also a special teams guy. We all know that the Iowa offense struggled. Well, the reason why they scored points was because they put the ball in his hands on punt returns. So I think he's the type of player that you can build things around with his physical and athletic attributes. And I think he goes, somewhere before that 28th pick. I think Philly at 22 makes sense, Jacksonville at 17, and certainly Indy at 15.
Russell, indulge the Chicago Bears, this long-suffering Chicago Bears fan for a moment. What are we getting with Caleb Williams?
Well, I think you're getting a guy that can do so much that resonates to today's NFL. I mean, it's something that we want every quarterback to be able to do, and that's operate off script, that's able to go out there and make these plays from unique arm angles on the run. Sometimes it's so unorthodox that it's like, I don't even know if that's believable. And then there's times where it's like, he doesn't need to do that. So there's times like he'll do too much. But I think with his mobility, his arm strength, and just the way he's able to create, it makes him different as a quarterback. And he's got the superstar potential. Now, I don't want to sit here and say he's a generational talent because I think we tend to fall into that trap sometimes. And I really think there's only one player that's generational in this draft, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr. But that doesn't mean Caleb Williams can't be a very good player. He is certainly a first-round worthy candidate. He's certainly top 3 worthy, and he's the type of player that you draft and you try to mold into today's game and work on some of the inconsistencies, make those consistent, and you got a guy that's going to win you big games, get you to the playoffs, win division titles, and I think in Chicago, that's all you're asking for at this point.
There is, a lot of drafts, we always have players with character concerns. They're kind of ironic because the Bills brought in La'el Collins where there wasn't really a character concern, but the news kind of broke over the draft weekend and everybody kind of stayed away, and all worked out for him in the end. Leading up to this question, what do you make about this story concerning the DWI and the allegations with Tavondre Sweat from Texas, and how far may he actually fall, or may he just kind of go where he should in this draft, Russell?
Yeah, it's so shocking, to be completely honest with you. I didn't really think that was going to be something that was going to happen with any player leading up to this. I mean, it's just like, what are you doing, man? But that's just kind of what he's been labeled as, kind of this party animal type of player. And, just off the film, he gets a second-round grade. He's got really good film for a guy that's 366 pounds. But now the concern is what is he going to be off the field for my organization when he gets the money and the freedom away from school and all of those things and the travel that comes with that. I am a little bit concerned with him, and I certainly think he's going to be a guy that probably falls into that 4th, 5th, 6th round range. I mean, it's unfortunate. He ended up as my 43rd overall player on my board. That was before the DWI, and I'm acknowledging that. I'm not going to adjust my board too much just because the guide's been finished and all that stuff for myself. But with the character concerns, I acknowledge that he's going to end up dropping in this class. And I just wonder, where's the right fit for him? Is it a place like Kansas City where he can partner up with Chris Jones and some of the veterans they have? Can he go to a place with a veteran locker room and have the leadership that he needs from not just coaches but the players around him? Because that's going to be the most important part. But if he ends up going to a place like Las Vegas where the city never sleeps, or he goes to Philadelphia where there is some character concern guys, with Jalen Carter and stuff like that, do you want those two paired up? Is that a bad recipe? I don't know. For football, it makes sense, but off the field, there's a lot of question marks there. So it all depends on landing spot for him. He can be a good player, but I think the opportunity to be great might be kind of gone away now.
Russell, tell us a little bit about what you're working on at Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros here. What could we read up on and check out here as we get ready for the draft a week from Thursday?
Yeah, prospect rankings are coming out over the next couple of days. We're talking quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers, the stuff that everybody likes. And with that will be my draft guide attached to it, which has got 101 in-depth scouting reports. It's got the prospect rankings and their draft grades. So that's all free for everybody out there, and they can check that out. And then, final mock draft will be next week, and then it's draft time. So, it's pretty exciting. I'll be downtown. I'll be with everybody doing some radio down there, so it's exciting.
Nice. Russell, appreciate it, and would love to catch up with you after the draft here, see how everyone did here.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Russ. Russell Brown. You can check out his work at Fantasy Pros, Betting Pros, covering the NFL draft, and joining us in the sports bar.
Did you see this breaking news item?
Oh, we have breaking news in the sports bar.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Your breaking news is about the man who says that in the breaking news sounder.
Oh, no. I don't want to hear breaking news around John Sterling. What happened?
According to Andrew Marchand, there is a press conference coming up on Friday where it's expected that John Sterling will announce his retirement.
Oh. We get a farewell tour, or is it, I'm done, this is too much?
Yeah, I'm wondering because the season began, and I was driving back from New York, last Sunday, and listening to the game, and they're playing Toronto, and he's on top of it. Still has the call, but then he doesn't go on the road to Cleveland, and I don't think he's on the road in Toronto, and yeah, he's not. Maybe he's just like, you know what, I just don't have it in me.
Look. Okay. It's been a rough couple of weeks here in the sports bar. We already had to retire David Schwimmer with every instance of him saying the word juice in The People versus O.J. Simpson.
I
don't want to have to retire the John Sterling breaking news sounder.
O.J. is dead. Okay, so John Sterling is not dead, but his career is apparently going by the wayside.
I can't have that. I can't have us not recognizing the greatness of John Sterling.
Pitch, 1-2, swung on in the air to right. Back goes Stanton on the track at the wall, leaping, and she is gone. It is a home run. They're all waiting. And why are they waiting?
Because Stanton caught the ball.
And coming off the field is Chapman. Stanton never threw the ball back in. No, Stanton just robbed Chapman of a home run. Wow. What a play by Stanton.
See, Gino, you can't feel bad. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Sterling botches a home run call. I don't know what score you were looking at, but
I was looking at Friday's score.
It was Friday's score.
Yeah.
What happens to that monitor over there when Joe Caprogreco comes in the studio? There's like gremlins and monsters in there.
That's it. So,
good run for Sterling. It'll feel weird without him on the call, but life will move on. John Sterling is not bigger than the New York Yankees, obviously.
So when does Susan leave then? Those two are tied at the hip, right?
Oh, God. Not soon enough. My opinion. We'll take a break here, come back. Appetizers next. How about some NFL morsels for you to chew on here before we get to happy hour? Coming up at 5 o'clock, we have an edge rusher taking a visit with the Buffalo Bills. And
don't bury the lead. Hot uniform talk.
Yeah.
I know one of them, but you got to tell me the other one.
Yeah, we do. We do have some hot uniform talk to share with you. And we'll get to that before we get to happy hour coming up here at 5 o'clock. If you want to join us, 585-866-4FAN is the phone number. 866-4326.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is The Fan, Rochester.
All right, just a few moments away from some hot uniform talk. We also have a player visiting the Bills, a prospect visiting the Bills today on a top 30 visit. Gino, what do you know about edge rusher Latu, who visited the Bills today?
All I know is we're going to have to practice a lot if he goes to Buffalo.
McDermott's liked his Pacific Islander prospects. Star Latulele was famously aligned with McDermott back in Carolina, and then of course with Buffalo as well. After he's done with the Bills, he travels to Philly. He'll take a visit with the Eagles tomorrow. Pretty good career for UCLA over the last 2 seasons here. 5 forced fumbles, a couple of interceptions, 23.5 sacks. And the notion is that he's probably not there at 28 for the Buffalo Bills. Cardinals, Vikings, Broncos, all taking visits with him. He's a projected first rounder. When you look at the Bills' defensive end right now, when you look at their edge rushers right now, you could make a case. You can make a case for the Bills going defensive end in round 1.
You can make a case it's a bigger need than wide receiver.
Sure can.
What are you talking about? Well, okay, you're going to count on Von Miller?
What's more important to Sean McDermott, the pass rush or getting a wide receiver for Josh Allen?
That's a point too. But you have Rousseau, Epineza. Again, I'm not counting on Von Miller.
No, I'm not either. It's Rousseau and Epineza and whatever is left of Von Miller, which isn't much. And that's really it. What, Casey Toole? Oh, Kingsley Jonathan. Okay.
All right.
I mean, come on. So and plus, Von Miller today, or over the weekend, I should say, basically trying to telegraph what Brandon Beane is going to do in the NFL draft, go up and get a wide receiver in the first round. Von Miller's never right. So if that's what everybody thinks is going to happen and Von Miller is putting it out there, they're going defensive end at 28, everybody. Von Miller's never right with his projections.
No, that's a tell right there. Von's fake smokescreen. Eagles today taking care of Devontae Smith. Now, he picking up the fifth-year option. Is that really a story? Well, they did more than that. Gave him a 3-year extension that ties them to the Eagles through the 2028 season. Extension on worth up to $75 million, 51 of that guaranteed.
We were talking last week, something to kind of monitor here as we get closer to the draft. What do the Chiefs do with wide receiver Rashee Rice here with the offseason programs getting underway across the NFL? Because if they tell him to stay away, there's a good chance that the Chiefs are going to need a wide receiver somewhere in the draft, and maybe even in the first round of the draft. They probably will. But they'll definitely need it if Rice isn't around the team. Well, he's taking part in meetings, according to Andy Reid. He's taking part in meetings over Zoom for now. And that the team will eventually see how things play out here with the criminal charges related to the 6-car crash that Rice was involved in. He turned himself into authorities last week, and the police report said that he was going 119 miles per hour just before the crash. So Rashee Rice still kind of awaiting the next step. What will that disciplinary action look like? For now, he's meeting virtually with his team.
119 miles an hour? Was that wrong?
Yeah. It's the give us the George Costanza give us the George Costanza defense.
Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? I tell you, I gotta plead ignorance on this thing, because if anyone had said anything to me at all when I first started here that sort of thing was frowned upon.
Right. All right. Let's get to some hot uniform talk.
Hit me, Danger. I know the one. I don't know the other.
Well, should we start with the one that is potentially hotter than the other? There's one that to me is a Francesa. Actually, I'm not going to lie. They're both kind of Francesas to me. And that's, for me, usually a little uniform talk, a little uniform update gets me excited.
Can I go with the Francesa? I think we all, at least I saw, and it came across the feed because the team put it out officially, that the Jets, going back to some version of Joe Klecko and Mark Gastineau and Richard Todd. And we saw the Jets actually wear this for the Week 1 win over Buffalo. Aaron Rodgers, the only game he was a Jet, was wearing that throwback stuff. Now that's going to become kind of the base uniform,
Yeah.
correct? Oh, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, that one feels a little Francesa-ish to me as well. I mean, I guess, if anything, we love our nostalgia, right? We love our nostalgia. We got so excited to see those Tampa Bay creamsicles, and the creamsicles don't really equate to winning.
Give me the red helmet in Buffalo.
Right. Not every team is doing this. Not every team participates in the throwback. Well, the Jets took their throwback from last year and they converted them back. So that'll be this upcoming season. They wore them during the 80s. And they wore him a couple of times here last season. You mentioned the Bills game. The other one that we'll start to see, the other throwback that'll start to emerge, is in Jacksonville. The Jags are going to go back to their 96 throwbacks.
Oh. That's a Francesa.
That's a Francesa, right? I mean, like...
Oh, who cares?
And furthermore, I never hated the Jags color scheme or their uniform. Like, they kind of went away from that teal and went on more like a black and white kind of look, and it doesn't do it for me. I kind of liked what they had going back in the 90s.
And for some reason, teal was like the color of the 90s.
Sure.
Like, it was like, oh my gosh, we never knew that teal existed. And then all these teams wanted to be, putting teal on their uniform. It's interesting to me. Like, we pushed the Commanders aside because that was a rebrand that had to happen for other reasons. But every uniform change now, you're not getting a complete rebrand like, hey, here's something new. Like when the Broncos of the 90s redid their uniforms, like, whoa, that's completely different. We don't get anything like that anymore. It's just an alteration.
What's the closest thing that we've had to that? The Falcons?
Even still, you're keeping the same bird logo. I'm talking new logo, new colors, new this. You don't get that in sports anymore, other than the Commanders again. But even they kept the same colors. The Guardians, big deal. I mean, like, let's change the word. Same colors, same font.
Right. Yeah, who's done it? The Lions altered slightly but didn't get away from it. I guess that's too big a risk. I mean, you're a noticeable brand, and you're going to alter it in a way that maybe makes it less recognizable. That was a big risk by the Broncos.
Yeah, like when the Buccaneers went away from the creamsicle orange to the pirate way, that was a big deal.
Yeah. Nobody's doing that. You're right.
No. Patriots from Patriot Pat to, eventually, now you're going back to Patriot Pat every once in a while. Yeah, they were really good back then right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, we're going to go back and throw back to the times when we were synonymous with losing. Let's play in those uniforms more frequently, as they did in Tampa with Bucco Bruce. Happy hour is next in the sports bar.
Okay, that was actual laughter.
What got you?
Aaron writing in, should Rice really be meeting over Zoom? Sometimes the punchline is right in front of us.
Let's go clean up. Happy hour is next. We have time for your calls if you want to join us. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Never tweet us again. What was that? Love it. 866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger. Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Infinity Sports Network.
I'm a little weird with my pizza. I don't like sauce.
Wait, what?
We've hired a toddler.
Scotty Scheffler, the new face of golf.
Man, CBS was amazing to Vern, but they did Billy Joel so dirty last night.
Off-season conditioning program underway today.
Tom Brady, he recently said that he believes Josh Allen will be the next quarterback to win his first Super Bowl.
Let's go!
It is Marathon Monday in Boston.
Mike Danger.
Hear me out. Pre-show dad run. What do you think? I just think it's a good way to set a tone every afternoon.
Gene Battaglia.
Is there any food like you won't touch?
Hate beans. Not a bean guy. Can't stand beans.
Coconut. I just cannot down coconut in any way.
Amerks hockey.
Clinch a spot in the Calder Cup playoffs.
Playoffs? Go Sabres. Season finale tonight in Tampa.
We have the end of the NBA regular season. The play-in matchups.
The WNBA draft is tonight. I'm excited because of Caitlin Clark.
Officially becoming an Indiana Fever.
Nice.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
All right, so Marathon Day in Boston, Patriots Day. How did our guy do, Joey Kipchoge?
I think we're going to get a report from Boston a little bit later on this show.
Don't tease me.
Yeah, 38th overall. You're talking about like the best in the world, though.
Right.
Like the pros there.
What do you run?
2:22.
2 hours and 22 seconds to run that course. Guy's a freak. Love him. That's amazing. Pre-show dad runs, I'm telling you. I think that might set a tone. Go out a little quick 5K. Come. I know you need to. You're adamant about showering before.
Cleanliness.
I am not. I don't care.
Okay.
I will come in with the funk.
Go over there to the PXY studio behind the glass.
You know, this is my long play. I'm gonna do pre-show dad runs, and then I'm just gonna stay home because I refuse to shower before the show.
Oh,
it just works into my routine.
This is your ploy. Then you don't even have to make the trip.
It just works into my routine.
Do you realize, like, I would be I believe it or not, I used to run a board, but that was how many years ago? I'd be terrible. I'd be hitting wrong buttons. And
we're getting new equipment in here, too. Oh. Pizza Dude's coming in here. He's going to exchange all of our stuff, all of our ancient equipment that we haven't. I mean, I'm not. It's not hyperbole to say that the students at 89.1 The Point have better technical equipment than we do. I mean, we have great software and we make everything run, but this console that I stand behind every afternoon here in the sports bar is 30 years old, maybe even older. I mean, just old. Think about how much the world has changed in the last 40 years.
Well, this studio was never meant to do a show like you and I are doing. That's also part of this. Like, we just kind of like, oh, you know what? We'll just give Danger and Gene a show.
Throw them in the corner of the building.
Yeah,
nobody's paying attention.
Nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. Well, it's still fun, but I'm just looking for different ways to set a tone. So maybe we'll enact and engage a pre-show run policy, and Joey can be our guy. He can be the guy that instructs us.
Look, let me walk baby steps here. I'm thinking maybe Friday morning run. Except this Friday, we're committed to our one day.
One day, one thing.
Yeah, so we're going to be cleaning up High Falls. So Danger and I, when you come down to High Falls this spring or summer, and you look, wow, that's really clean and everything, you can thank us.
I know that they've closed down the bridge, the the bridge that goes from Ponte-Rains that goes from here to the other side of the High Falls. So maybe attractions are a little bit down, but eventually, when the construction is done in the city, it's going to be beautiful. Promise, it'll be beautiful for at least 6 months. So take advantage of it while you have it. If they do a state park down there, I think they're talking about doing that. That'll all be great too.
Yeah, like they finally got State Street done after how many years?
Yeah, and it's nice, except for the people that live there and take their dogs out to do their business and don't pick up after their dogs. Pick up after your dogs.
That should just be a law.
Pick up after your dogs.
Isn't it a law?
It's disgusting. I mean, everything is great. The streets are wide. The sidewalks are new. Everything is freshly paved. New landscaping, trees, benches. And then you look and you're like, oh, somebody didn't pick up after their dog. Oh, somebody keeps not picking. I don't know if it's one person, one dog, or if it's multiple people, pick up after your dogs. If you live on State Street, pick up after your dogs. Come on. We're not better than that. It's disgusting.
Again,
at least I'm assuming.
Where are you lawmakers?
I'm assuming it's dog. I maybe that's not a safe assumption. We've got we've got the Masters to talk about. We've got another top 30 visit for the Buffalo Bills today as a pass rusher this time coming in.
You want to take a stab at the pronunciation?
Latu.
Very good.
UCLA. And this guy is considered one of the best pass rushers in this year's draft class. If the Bills do go edge rusher in round 1, then I would imagine that Latu is probably somebody that they would be eyeing.
Could the Bills just actually sit there at would it be more prudent to take best pass rusher at 28 and then maybe inch up in round 2 and grab yourself a Ladd McConkey? Would that be a win, Danger?
What would you say if the Bills traded up in the first round, but not to get a wide receiver, but to get a guy like this?
You better be right. You better be right.
Pretty good couple of years at UCLA. Yeah, you're right. You better be right. It becomes pretty obvious that, some players are, exactly who you thought they were going to be. Trey White.
I think Dalton Kincaid.
Sure. And then there are other guys that are like, best we can do. Kyer Elam.
Yeah.
The plan B guys. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say Ed Oliver is either, because I think Ed Oliver is somewhere in between. There are moments where it's like, oh, Ed Oliver is the guy. He's the dude. We don't talk about the opportunities ahead for Ed Oliver this year. This is like, for me and Ed Oliver this year, I think now you really can be the player that we all think you can be consistently. He was it was his best year last year, but still kind of like, no, not the disruptive force.
No, not when it matters the most. And I always throw a disclaimer because you don't know how banged up if these guys are playing hurt or to what degree, but that when it mattered the most, Jones is making the play on
invisible,
Allen.
Right?
Yeah, and
our defensive line is invisible,
right? That being the point there. Out in Buffalo, we're not going to hear anything today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. Is Thursday the best day for our lie detector here? Because you will have, not for Josh Allen will talk, but 1 week exactly from the first round of the NFL draft, we'll be hearing from head coach Sean McDermott and general manager Brandon Beane. Or they just not lie, they're just going to talk in circles and not tell you anything.
I would say listen for the Stephon Diggs comments. Oh, big time. Some gold coming our way from McDermott.
Well,
yes, some absolute downright lies coming from the head coach on Thursday.
These are tough decisions that you have to make.
Yeah, we didn't want to see Steph leave. Yeah, okay. You don't just replace that kind of production. Okay.
But we have faith in the players that are here.
Yeah. That'll be Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, we'll get a workout in on Thursday. Put the McDermott McLies lie detector to the test. We're also going to hear throughout the course of the week, and I only bring it up because the season is over for the Sabres after tonight. They're in Tampa, and that'll be their last game.
Which I thought tonight was the last night in the NHL regular season. Look, oh no, it's actually Thursday. Yes, let's get this over with.
Right. So locker cleanout day for the Sabres Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday there's expected to be a Don Granato / Kevin Adams press conference, which if everything, if they're both up there on Friday, then that would mean that Don Granato's probably coming back, right?
Maybe. Remember, like the last time the Sabres did something like this, I'm not talking about Kruger, it was Bottrell, and Bottrell was back. And then one day in May, I don't know if
everybody was gone.
I don't know. Yeah.
That felt weird, though, because that was also the pandemic. It was right around the time that the world was shutting down and everybody was tightening their belts and everybody was asking employees to take a little bit less, take a haircut here. We're going to need to make some sacrifices. Yeah, I that was unexpected. And a lot can happen, but as of right now, it's expected that we'll hear from both Granato and Kevin Adams Friday morning at the conclusion here of the Buffalo Sabres regular season. But hey, Stanley Cup playoffs are here this weekend, Gino.
You get to see what real hockey is like.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
The best postseason in all of sports. It's the best product going.
Although the NBA play-in round, it might be a little gimmicky to some, but the idea you get Philadelphia and Miami.
I like that. And I actually think Philadelphia, mentioned this earlier, I know that Embiid isn't 100%, and you're hoping that he can stay healthy down the stretch here. But when he is playing, he's been the best player in the league. And this team doesn't lose when he's out there. Plus, the East right now feels like it's wide open. It feels like it's just a giant mess. The Knicks have their regular season team. The Magic are cute. It's a cute story. The Celtics.
How did you get here?
Yeah, the Celtics are. We kind of like point at their coaching, like there's talent there, but they feel poorly coached. You know, and the Bucks are frauds, of course. I think they lose to Indiana. In the first round. So the Sixers are the team that, to me, feels like they could surprise some people, like Miami did last year.
Well, what this would set up is Philadelphia then would get the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks have to be like, oh, come on. What did we do to deserve this? This isn't really a real 7th seed, which is why you have a lot of conversation now that, you should be able to pick your opponents.
Yes.
You should be able to pick your what I would say to anybody that makes that argument, you want to win the first round or you want to win the whole thing? Because honestly, you got to beat everybody.
That's right. That's right. It's a grind, and you can't make excuses. So that gets underway tomorrow, the play-in round. It's fun, and it's just a matter of time before that format. And we essentially have it now in baseball and basketball. Hockey will expand, and NHL will do that as well. And then the Sabres can end their playoff drought with an asterisk.
Does that really count if you're like the 10th seed in the play-in?
Yeah, you made it.
Think about this. They did that for a year. Did we forget that? And they still couldn't make it.
That's right. So the season comes to a merciful end tonight. Did I hear Eric Comrie is in goal tonight? I think Eric Comrie is in goal tonight.
I'll be listening anyways.
Don Granato was asked, why Eric Comrie? I have to hear this.
I just think we just think it's right. As a staff, as an organization, this is a guy that has helped us and helped two very young goalies, very inexperienced goalies. He's really been an extremely positive influence on their progressions, their development, and the rest of our group. I mean, he works every day. It's not an easy position to be in, with intermittents in between games of a month or more. And then all the practice habits, and he's always out there early for shooters and stays out there late for shooters. It just made perfect sense when you factor all those components in.
What the hell is wrong with this organization? You put your best players out there. We got to do right by Calapozo. We got to do right by Eric Comrie. Give me a break. Finish the season on a strong note. So I'm really excited to see Eric Comrie give a 5 tonight.
Don't worry, they'll win. They're going to win tonight. They're going to win for Comrie. Come on. They're going to win for Comrie. His last game is a Buffalo Sabre. They're going to win for him. He'll get the win tonight. It's all too little too late. So frustrating. But yes, the idea that both Granato and Adams are scheduled to speak on Friday does kind of point in the direction that nothing will change. And your question, what the hell is wrong with this organization, might be just that. Nothing will change.
Nothing changes.
Nothing will change.
Oh, well, let's look at the Amherst there. The Amherst, by the way, they're in, and they're in second place still, and it's going to go right down to the wire as far as whether the 1, the 2, or the 3 here.
My first question tomorrow for Seth Apper, what's the matter, Coach? You can't drop 9 on Belleville?
9 times.
Yeah, why did we stop at 8? Let's get out of here, Belleville.
That was good. We'll get to Amherst head coach Seth Apper tomorrow afternoon at 4:25. And also tomorrow, as he does every Tuesday, Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard will stop by the sports bar. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills.
Our phone number, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Chris in South Central Kentucky first up.
Hey,
What's up,
one of
buddy?
our regulars. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Excellent.
Yeah, so I just got back from this vacation that I was on, trying to keep up with you guys and what's going on back here. And, I had a friend text me about the Diggs trade, and I'm like, dude, I'm on vacation. I don't want to be brought down like this. But then I was thinking, the last 6 or 7 games, he hadn't really been utilized all that much. And it almost felt like, to me, like they were seeing what this offense could do if Diggs were not part of the game plan moving forward. So the more I thought about it, the more it was not quite as surprising that he wasn't going to be a part of the team moving forward. It was still kind of surprising given the contract, but not surprising as well. And then I was also overseas when the news broke that OJ had passed away, and that was huge international news over in Europe. You know, the BBC was making a big deal out of it. A few of the like foreign language, German, Swiss, Dutch channels were making a big deal out of it. So it was easy enough to keep up with what was going on over here, but I missed listening to you guys in the afternoons.
Well, Chris, I appreciate that. Those are very kind words there. And yeah, like anytime you want to go over to Europe, and we'll know next time you go over to Europe, we'll have big stories that will happen.
I feel like I'm the same way. I feel like I can't take vacation. I take vacation and they trade Diggs. I take vacation and they fire Russ Brandon, or what was the other one? I take vacation. They sign Von Miller.
Wait a second, Chris, you should weigh in on this.
Okay.
The Juice montage, does that get retired? Or should Mike Danger play it now?
I don't want to see it retired. And I kind of wish you'd throw in some Norm Macdonald into it as well, because I really needed to hear some Norm Macdonald after that.
Chris, thanks. Be well, buddy. It's Chris in South Central Kentucky.
Are we taking requests?
Juice. When Chris and I broke up, the Juice was there for me every night. It's like he's not really the Juice anymore. We gotta get you dressed, Juice. Juice. A will? Juice.
Yep,
Juice. Come on, Juice. Juice. Juice it's AC. Juice. AC's here. Juice. I heard Juice. It's on every channel. You know I feel the same, Juice. You're gonna tell them yourself, Juice. Juice. Your whole family's here, Juice. She's on the house phone waiting to talk to you, Juice. Juice. Okay, Juice? Okay, Juice, we're good to go. You're home, Juice. You know Uncle Juice, and your Uncle Juice is a good man. Your Uncle Juice is a good man. He's never going to stop being the Juice. It could explain a lot, Juice. Just hear him out, Juice. He's right, Juice. Listen, Juice. Hey, Juice, this is your life. Juice, please, Juice. Juice, we need an answer.
Of course that was gigantic international news.
Yeah.
Every country that has the ability to do reality TV shows, it's all because of Juice. Juice was the first reality TV superstar. Court TV was a thing. Imagine trying to tell your kids, yeah, we used to watch a channel called Court TV. What was on Court TV? It was a courtroom. We would watch trials, Court TV, and that was the trial we watched. Court TV isn't a thing anymore. You know why? Because nobody cares. It was all Juice all the time.
Juice is being cremated, so no brain for CTE research.
And to Chris's other point, I agree. I think that the Bills were purposely trying to win games despite Stephon Diggs down the stretch last year. I think it all started with the firing of Ken Dorsey. I think Dorsey and Allen and Diggs were humming, and the stat lines for Diggs were fantastic, but the Bills weren't winning games. And if that's what you need to do to win games, to pare back on the opportunities for your star receiver, I mean, then credit Sean McDermott.
Or can we go back to last May? I'm very concerned that
I guarantee you that was the first step.
I think that was the first step, and I'm wondering if get me out of here. You're not going to get out of here. Then everybody plays nice and above board. But it was known at that point that Diggs was just going to play, and he's going to be a mercenary. He's playing for himself at this point. And when you get to that point of the season when Dorsey gets they're 6-6 at that point. You're kind of okay. Well, you know what? You're not with us. We're going to do it our own way.
Right. We're going to pretend.
That's the theory I would present.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and all of it may if that conversation during OTAs last year, where Diggs was sent home, if that conversation was, I want to be traded, I want to be dealt, I'm requesting a trade, the timing of that makes sense too, based on the absolute S show that was that season prior. The way you lost in the postseason to Cincinnati, the way that season went with DeMar Hamlin, with all of the off-field stuff that nobody talks about, the off-field rumors around the quarterback that nobody talks about, if those rumors are true and if those rumors were a distraction for the quarterback, then I don't know that I would blame Steph Diggs for saying, you know what, get me out of here. Because the quarterback is doing what he does. He's not as bought in as I am. He's not as dialed in as I am. We can't get over the Chiefs. We can't get over the Bengals now. What are we doing, guys? How are we making this team better? Get me out of here. If that was the conversation, I get it.
Well, the thing with Diggs, it feels like we can all kind of agree is there's more to the story. Diggs has yet to talk to the Houston media. He's yet to be introduced. Do they do a formal press conference setting down there? And if so, does a Perino, does somebody fly down there? Because, Stefan, what really happened? Does he take the high road, or is he just going to
I think he takes the high road. I think he takes the high road.
He should.
I think he will. All of this being said, I don't think Steph Diggs is a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad teammate. I don't think he's a bad player. I think
this all stems from what happened before the Cincinnati game. And things that you and I both hear, but because
everybody hears it.
Yeah,
everybody hears it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody can say anything about it. Nobody talks about it. But if that's true, and he's using that as ammunition against his quarterback as to why you can't get over or why you can't hit me when I'm open or why, whatever it is, I get it. And if that was the conversation and that led into the regular season, like, oh, he's not going to be here anyways. You don't want to be here. He's going to show up. He's going to do what he's asked to do. He's going to be a good teammate, but you don't want to be here. So let's imagine what life without him is going to be like. And then you have the final 6 games of the season where he's kind of invisible. That all makes sense. I can connect those dots. And now it's on them to find that production. Not just the production of Diggs, the production of Davis. Where are you getting it? And that's why I think we've all kind of drawn the conclusion that it's going to be a wide receiver here, round 1 for the NFL draft. If you missed Russell Brown talking about that NFL draft, or Jenna Cottrell from 13 Wham Sports and Buffalo Plus, Odyssey Rewind lets you go back and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed for the next 72 hours. Just search out The Fan Rochester and the free-to-download Odyssey app. Find our show and go back and listen. We'll get to a round of shots next, Gino.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it'll be Eric Comrie. One last game for the Sabres tonight, but then what is next? We'll go over the Masters. Some of the other tidbits here, too, just going beyond Scotty Scheffler that you may have missed. We'll get you an Amerks update as well, the NBA. We're ready for what should be a great postseason.
All right, that's coming up and more. A round of shots and last call at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
Bills, Sabres, Amerks. Your home for live sports is 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, you're back in the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Time for a round of shots.
Yeah, at 7-2 odds, Scotty Scheffler became the first favorite to win the Masters since Tiger in 2005. Not much drama on Sunday. Competitors falling off one by one. Scheffler winning his second green jacket in 3 years. He's still 27. He's got an opportunity for many more. Oh, and by the way, his wife did not go into labor. So best is yet to come this month for the Schefflers.
I got this text early this morning from one of my neighbors. You hear me talk about my neighborhood from time to time, right?
It's Tony, right?
No, this is from Cuse.
Cuse.
One of the mics. There's like 5 mics as well. Interesting take on Scotty Scheffler. A man of faith, humble, not flashy, and what a fantastic golfer. Joins an elite group of golfers winning the Masters again. After yesterday, I can now remember his face and story and root for his continued success. Great for the game of golf. Mike? It's boring. It's boring. Yes, he's great. Yes, he's the model of what you would want your. He says the right things. He does the right things. He swings out of his shoes. The guy is a bore. He's a bore. I love watching greatness, and he's great. But let's see it now over a longer, sustained period of time. 2 out of 3 years we've seen before. It doesn't feel like it's special or different. And the performance I thought was fantastic, but it was, I think, more about other golfers just not rising to that challenge. He did a great job, but it was boring. And he's kind of boring because he's so perfect. And I don't need any more winners out of that high school that he went to with Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford. We have enough winners from that high school. That's enough.
Yeah, they weren't concurrent, but yeah, they're doing some things right down there in Texas. Some other notes from the Masters. Dead last amongst those who made the cut, Tiger. 16 over. His worst ever in a tournament. He was 1 over through Friday. Then he had an 82 on Saturday, 77 on Sunday. Remember Tyrell Hatton Danger? He was the proper breed who said, I don't really have a chance.
Yes.
Well, he finished top 10.
Yeah.
That's big. As live golfers, it's tough to qualify, right? Well, he doesn't have to worry about that with the world rankings. He's automatically in for next year. And the Masters always allows in the old guys. The former champs get to compete, but guys like Cabrera, those types of players. One of those guys, Bernard Longer, winner in 85 and 93, wasn't out there Sunday because he tore his Achilles playing pickleball.
Oh, the pickleball injury. Shelved because of pickleball. This is a big craze now. Pickleball is a big deal in our country. Everywhere, pickleball. Hey, is it like building pickleball courts in Greece? I hear the community center is beautiful. I imagine that in the new community center, there probably are pickleball courts. Maybe somebody can. I haven't been over there yet. All I hear is, this wonderful track, and they got this great workout facility that it's cheap and affordable, and blah blah blah. And the community center in Greece is beautiful. Do you have pickleball courts? Let's be honest, because if you don't have the pickleball courts, well, then you're half-assing it.
No, they do.
They do for sure.
Yeah, so they're coming or they're already in, but that's in the works.
Yeah, it's a big deal, pickleball.
Yeah. The Amerks back in the postseason. Rochester clinching as Utica actually lost to Providence on Friday. The Amerks bouncing back from a loss on Friday. Saturday hanging 8 on the Sens. Not 9, but 8.
Yeah, that's my first question tomorrow for Seth Apper. What's the matter? You couldn't hang 9 on him?
9 times.
So 2 of 4 points this weekend leaves Rochester still in second place, 83 points in the North. That is 1 point behind first place Syracuse, 1 point ahead of third place Cleveland, 3 points ahead of fourth place Toronto. Got all that? The Marlies, they come in Wednesday night. We'll talk to Amerks head coach Seth Apper tomorrow at 4:25.
No, we have one winning organization to talk about here on the ice in our area. That's the Rochester Americans.
That's it. You could say that, professionally, that was the case. Anyways, we've got some interesting play-in matchups this week in the NBA. In the West, the Lakers are at New Orleans. Golden State takes the hour and 25-minute drive to Sacramento. Those games are on Tuesday. Wednesday sees the East. Philadelphia has a 7 hosting Miami. Chicago hosting Atlanta. As for the teams that are in, Boston and the Knicks, the top 2 seeds in the East, awaiting the play-in winners. Milwaukee will face Indiana. Cleveland taking on Orlando. West, OKC and Denver are the top 2 seeds in the West. And 3-6 matchup has Minnesota and Phoenix. The Clippers and Dallas round that up.
I like Indiana to beat Milwaukee in the first round. Other than that, I need a little bit of time here dissecting these.
Listen, the West, Tell me who, probably Denver, right? Denver last year, what I remember about the Nuggets, they were the top seed, number one. And they were buried. Always like Sunday night at 10 o'clock. It was like they didn't want you to watch Denver. So are they going to prop Denver up? Because to me, even though they're not the top seed, they still are out of this whole mess of inexperience. And no, I'm not counting Phoenix, please. To me, it feels like Denver is the class.
Oklahoma City is fun. It's a fun team. The number one seed.
Yes.
Very quietly the number one seed when you had Denver and Minnesota kind of battling it out throughout the course of the year and Oklahoma City just hanging out. The West is going to be fun. I'm interested to see who gets out of the play-in round. And the East feels very wide open. Like, whereas we're having a conversation about Denver in the West, the East feels wide open.
Oh, I mean, Denver, it's either going to be a handful of teams, right? Denver, and you could say OKC. What about Minnesota? Sure. Cleveland, would that shock anybody? Orlando would shock me. That's the team like, wait, how did you get in
Another
here?
fun team, young and fun. The Magic and the Thunder are just two young, fun teams that can go in with no pressure because there were really no expectations. They've exceeded those expectations, and they can play loose. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Finally, back to the Masters, one of those golfers that couldn't catch Scheffler, Max Homa. After falling short, a reporter asked Homa how he'd feel tomorrow, meaning today. Homa gave an answer that no one expected. He said he had been holding off on drinking for a while and planned to do some drinking on Sunday night after the Masters. So to answer the question, how would be feeling tomorrow? Not great.
Yeah.
Max Homa is one of us.
Going out and getting ripped because he didn't finish where he wanted to finish on the Masters. I like that.
Come on, Scotty, take it.
I just want some. I think that's what's missing. It's just some personality. Scotty Scheffler. If the extent of his personality is going to be him answering every question the right way, boring. I want something like that. Give me a little personality. I'm going to get lit tonight. Yeah, my wife's about to get my wife's about to give birth, and I'm going to miss her. I miss her so much, and I'm going to be down there. And he's saying all the right things doing all the right things.
My priorities are my family,
I'm
my
so
religion.
excited to be He's saying all the right things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he should say something else when asked those questions, but give me something. Give me, this. Give me just a modicum of personality to make me like you or not think that you're just milquetoast.
I don't need to be a takesman, but at least Rory. Like, you know what Rory is and what Rory stands for.
I would like it if we had rivalries. Like, where was this rivalry between LIV and PGA golfers? We don't see it. We don't hear about it. It doesn't exist. But I would love if that was part of it. Like, that makes it more interesting to me.
We're only going to be watching the majors. I know golf people don't like that take, but
it's all I care about.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I haven't watched a second of LIV Golf. I don't even know where it is.
I was on CW.
I'm not seeking it out. So, and when the PGA is on during the a non-majors week, it's there, but it's background noise. It's not really something I'm seeking out. So, yeah, the majors matter, and the LIV golfers, for the most part, showed some deficiencies. Just not their inability to kind of hang with Scheffler. Not playing as much golf as a PGA golfer. So that might be something to keep an eye on here as we get to the rest of the major season here in PGA golf. All right, let's get to last call next at 866-4326.
Yeah, take some of your calls here as we want to hear from you.
585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite.
Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It is the last game, so it's in the back of minds. It's, the schedule, and that, so it's a little different in that, but you just want to do your best. You want to prepare the right way and compete the right way, so all the attention has to go to that. The moments that it slips past that, you go right back.
7 o'clock tonight, the Sabres mercifully end their season in Tampa Bay, but listen anyways. Here on The Fan Rochester. It's last call on the sports bar. 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Yeah, well, let's go to Boston. Monica and Joey running the Boston Marathon. Who we got? We got Monica here?
Yep, Monica and, my fiance, Joey Kipchoge.
Okay.
Yeah, Joey Kipchoge.
Joey, we saw Joey did 2 hours, 22 minutes, which that's outstanding. Monica, this is your first time running Boston, correct?
Yep, yeah, so, I did the experience. So Joey runs in the pro field, so he starts ahead of all the masses, and then I was in the third wave of runners today.
Okay.
So I start at 9:30. Monica starts at 10:50, which is a big factor in weather. So, when I started, it was, in the 50s. When she started, it was high 60s.
Okay, but no, still comfortable. I mean, not to the point where,
Yeah, it was comfortable. It was actually kind of warm for running. There was definitely some carnage out there on the course.
Oh, carnage on the course.
Especially in the hill section, the Newton Hills.
Yeah.
From miles 16 to 21, there was quite a lot of people hurting. But yeah, it was nice because a lot of people were out. Pretty much the last 10 miles, it was just lined with crowds from the Newton section all the way to the finish in Boston.
Well, so tell me about Heartbreak Hill, Monica. How did that go for you the first time there?
Yeah, it hurts. So I ran. I was running a little fast, but I tried to dial everything back from mile 1 through 15, essentially, as much I tried to save myself for the Newton Hills because this course climbs 800 feet, which is pretty significant.
Heartbreak Hill's at mile 21.
Ugh.
Yeah. So that's the point also in a marathon where mentally and physically you're kind of breaking down.
Yeah.
So it was hard. It's probably a little bit over a half mile, I would say, in terms of distance. So pretty much for 4 minutes or so, you're climbing up this steep thing at mile 21 in a marathon. So I just kind of put my head down and pumped my arms and said, just get up this thing. And then after that, I said, once you're over this hill, it's just smooth sailing into Boston, and you're going to finich.
What are you guys
That's
doing to
mentally?
What are you guys going to do to celebrate tonight?
Bar hopping.
Yeah. And then we post-race party. We'll probably go to a Red Sox game tomorrow because the weather's supposed to be really nice tomorrow, too. And it turned out to be a beautiful day for, Patriots Day and the whole thing, so it was nice to experience that at its full amount of people out on the streets.
I don't know if Gene shared this with you guys or not, but last month during the run into the green, I was really excited. I've been running. My dad runs and getting ready to run a 5-mile race. And running at the green is St. Patrick's weekend in Rochester, which a lot of times ushers in the spring season. And there I see it. When that leaderboard and those results got posted, there's our guy Joey, number 1 overall, just absolutely dusting the course.
How far ahead was he of you, Dangerous?
Oh, I mean, I ran. My pace was something like 8:31. So Joey was running it at what? What was your clip?
Respectable.
It was 4:50 pace.
Yeah. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? Fantastic.
I want to say something too. So if you guys know Zdeno Chara, obviously the retired Boston Bruin.
Yeah.
So he's taken up legendary Boston Bruin. A friend of ours from Boston is with us. So we wanted us to throw that in. But he's taken up marathon running in his retirement and doing it pretty consistently and fairly well. But I beat him today.
Come on.
I beat a retired star NHL player.
He got you at New York, so you guys are one.
Yeah, so Zdeno beat me at New York City, but then I beat him today. So I have a little rivalry in my head. I don't know if Zdeno knows about it, but
congratulations. Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, it's good. It's good hearing from you guys. Congratulations. Unbelievable job by both of you. And we'll look forward to seeing you. Hopefully we get to see you draft here coming up a week from Thursday.
Yeah,
We'll
you guys going to Three Heads again?
Yeah, Three Heads a week from Thursday, guys. We'll see you there.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see you there.
Have fun tonight.
Safe travels. Have fun. Yeah, there he is. Joey Kipchoge, our guy. Monica's fiance, checking in from Patriots Day. Tomorrow, Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard at 3:25. Amerks head coach Seth Appert at 4:25. JR Sport Brief on the way next on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar